the next point, which really has to do with Google. Oh my God, do you remember that show? It was the one with the plant that said, "Feed me."
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think that's aging us.
Yeah,
I so believe that's aging us because a lot of
Little
people
Shop
that
of Horrors, horrors, Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, I
horrors.
have to be careful about that. So the point is that that's what Google has become. They want content continuously, right? Well, if that's the case, then here's the problem with it, guys. Who among us has that many hours in the day? I don't know about you, but at the end of the day, I have an option. I can either create more content or I can go to sleep.
Right.
Now, I'm not of the mindset that I'll sleep a lot when I die. I don't want to rush to that conclusion very quickly. So, with that in mind, think first about that. You need to create content. But what we've found is some ways to create content instantly. For those of us that talk faster than we type, which I talk a lot faster than I type, and I will say, just as an aside, I know that this may seem like a drink of water from a fire hydrant today. We only have 30 minutes to get all these points to you effectively. So with that, I'll move on and say, you've got to create content. You do the radio show. What are some other things that you do that are attached to your website?
I have 2 books that I've written. I have another one that I know is coming out sooner or later because I have a lot of stuff that's in my head that needs to come out. I have workbooks. I have different products. I have an e-learning platform. I have a sales club. But I do want to say one thing with caution about content. You can deliver and you can develop content. You can do it every single day, every single night, every single week. However, unless you have people that you're going to share it with, if you only have 12 people that you're talking to, well, those 12 people can't do everything that you want. So I worked with a strategist, and he said, first you have to build horizontally before you build vertically, and the vertical part is your content. So great, you've got content. If you need new stuff, Uncle Google has everything you need anyway. Just do an article, but be careful that you don't you're not sharing it with enough people, and you don't have those strategic partners and the JVs, because that is crucial this way in order to warrant this. Does that make sense?
It does to me. And one of the things that's really important is find other places. Like I noticed that you submit your stuff to other platforms, whether it's like when I say other platforms, they're the alternative board in this area has asked me to contribute an article on a monthly basis. There's another group that's asked me to contribute on a monthly basis, and I said absolutely love to. So I create content over here and I just shipped it.
It's repurposing.
Right.
Repurposing. And I do lots of other radio shows, not just my own, because that's other platforms that I may not have access to. You've been on my show. I've been on your show. There's 2 different communities. Even though we're connected, our communities may not be. So if you just continue to be a guest blogger or on a radio show or a TV show or anything else where you can get that information out and build your community, that's what you want to do.
Absolutely. And I know that there are several places that that are very open to interviewing you, and or that you could create interviews for others. One that I use a lot now is Hangouts, Google Plus Hangouts. Create one. I'm working on one right now called "What's Your 9-Pound Pearl?" It's that lesson you paid more than you should have for.
And I have so many lessons that I can share with you for your 9-pounder.
Believe me, so I'm looking forward to having
Yeah.
you on that. But the idea is that that's an easy one. There's Blog Talk Radio. That's another one I'm going to be on next week on one of my friends' shows. So you can create this stuff, content. Video is king. Google loves. Here's a good one. This is a rider downer. If you want Google's love, you got to play with their toys.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Get it?
And you're saying something that's really important. So here you are, and you're doing, someone else's TV show or radio show, and you're on Blog Talk or whatever it is, or you're doing a webinar, a telesummit. All the computers have a camera. So when you're doing a webinar or whatever, record it, because guess what? That becomes a product. If you do a guest blog for somebody else, it becomes a product. I have so many different introductions for all my shows. I know I already have a book there, because there's some amazing things. You just want to repurpose. Don't keep creating new stuff and recreating the wheel. You don't have to, and it doesn't cost anything to repurpose it.
One of the things that's really funny that I've thought about recently, I was I was submitting a chapter called Hangouts to Social Media Wealth, Dean Lindsay's new book. I'm really excited about that. And the more that I got involved in looking at and doing the research for and doing the Hangouts, my editor says, Pat, you ought to do another book as well. And the subject of the 9-pound pearl came up. And she goes, you ought to do one called What's Your 9-Pound Pearl? Well, as I started thinking about it, I thought, how could I create it? Well, create a Hangout, transcribe the Hangout.
There you go.
Now, literally, if you do it once a week, once a quarter, you got a volume 1, a volume 2, volume 3. So you can create books on Kindle especially where you can show the video and the transcript instantly. I mean, wow, now you got Amazon marketing for you, right?
Right, and the other thing is, you know, I'm on Fox Business News a lot. I'm their gender expert. They labeled me gender expert, which I love. I love that. But all the interviews that I've done are not necessarily all of my work. It could be a crazy story. Well, there you go, because now you have the story, you have the interview, and you create a blog post. And so now that becomes something else that you can use, and you share it. And I can say, Pat, I have got this great story for you, and you just move it right over. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, you can repurpose almost anything, and it costs you.
Absolutely. That's the thing. Everything you do has 5 to 7 uses.
Absolutely. And if you don't, then you're just wasting your time.